Okay, not sure if this is feasible or how long I'm gonna be able to hold out, but I did recently, like within the past half an hour, 45 minutes, finish watching the first episode of The Bachelorette. There goes my laundry. Seriously, now? Okay, try this again because ow! I really don't know how visible this is gonna be. I had to take care of that, otherwise it was just gonna beep every 5 minutes. So I don't want you that close to me. Okay, so, hi YouTube friends, it's Trish here, and welcome to my little corner of the internet. Today in a little literal corner in my house. I'm here to talk about The Bachelorette, season 19, Rachael and Gabby season. So it's The Bachelorettes. I really wanted to just go ahead and sit and try this out sort of vlog style today because I finished watching the episode about like 45 minutes ago, and I'm sitting here because it's sort of the end of the day and it's really hot upstairs. I don't have a working AC upstairs, so I am taking refuge downstairs where we do have a working AC. And yeah, debating on what I wanted to do. I was thinking I would just go back to, I'm rewatching a K-drama right now, Business Proposal. If you haven't seen it, it's a good one. I check it out. It's one of those like super just simple, easy watches. It's a sweet, you know, romantic comedy-ish sort of thing. So it's a really good drama. Anyway, not supposed to be talking about the drama. But I kind of was feeling exhausted, so not thinking about actually going over there. And then I opened YouTube, and of course, all the recaps, not all of the recaps, but most of the recaps that I enjoy watching, recappers on YouTube have their videos up, or, you know, whatever. So I didn't want to watch until I first got my thoughts out, and I really don't know if I'm going to be using this video or not. Mainly because I'm over here just in like, this was very slapdash. Is that the right terminology? I think so. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, it's just, it was sudden and I'm not entirely prepared. I mean, I have my notes because basically what I did was, as I was watching, just jot down things that stood out to me. It's just kind of how I do now. And I guess I would just like go through and talk about some of them, or maybe all of them, or I don't know, because I don't know if you saw my Umbrella Academy season 3 thoughts video, but that was just supposed to be 10 pointers and it ended up taking me almost 50 minutes. It's just how I roll, I guess. So anyway, let's just jump right into it because I'm rambling and I'm at 4 minutes already. Anyway, so quick thoughts on the first episode to begin with. I found it super hilarious that Jesse is saying multiple times, we don't really know what's gonna happen. We've never done this before. We've never had 2 bachelorettes. And it had very much this vibe of, we're not gonna tell these ladies what to do. They're gonna figure it out on themselves. Like, they're gonna do this, you know? And it's just like, it's almost like they took the whole, like, don't tell a woman what to do super far, to the point where we're not giving you any structure or like how this could turn out or whatever. That's not even what I'm trying to say, because the show always talks about how there's no rules. You can do whatever you want. And the thing is, it's, yes, that's true, but also there is a base rule. Like, there's just a baseline how the show goes. And it's more like parameters. They're like sort of boundaries, and you can push the boundaries, you can toe the line, you know, if you so want to, but those edges are still there. It's almost like this season they're just like, there's none of that. We have no idea what we're doing, we're just sort of doing this. And it kind of makes sense because apparently Gabby's over there, you know, packing her bag and saying she has 24 hours to say goodbye to everyone before she just launches off into this journey of being one of the 2 bachelorettes. So I guess it makes sense because it already felt like this quick decision that they had made at the end of Clayton's season to sort of rake in more viewers. Like, oh, you know what? These 2 ladies got their hearts just completely torn apart on like national TV with this guy. We can't just choose one of them, we gotta choose both of them, and you know, we're gonna figure it out as we go. And that's just sort of the gung-ho sort of driving force for this episode, apparently. I don't know, I find it so interesting. I don't know if I hate it or not. I don't know if I'm just sort of like, okay, but you had to have some plan, some idea of how this is going to go, or, you know, how you would like it to go. Because when the night actually starts off and we first see them both talking to individual guys, granted we only saw Roby and the twins, and ouch, man, that was awkward. It's like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna jump really ahead to that part because obviously that's the thing that's fresh right now in my mind, but it's the end of the night or the beginning of the morning and you know, they're talking about how they didn't get a chance to talk to all the guys, which granted, yeah, I kind of, as the night was starting, was wondering, wait a second, normally nowadays that first night takes all night, and that's when you have 1 lead. What's going to happen when you have 2? And there are still people that go most of the night and they're like, yeah, I haven't really like talked to them yet, and then you hear them talk about how they're starting to freak out or panic or whatever because they didn't chat yet. So, which of course that happened this time, and yeah, so I was also wondering about how long it was going to actually take and whether they would get to everyone, and the show is telling us that no, they didn't. And anyway, you hear Gabby and Rachael talking to each other, and it sounds like they kind of don't want to do the rose ceremony tonight because they didn't get a chance to chat with everyone. And Jesse comes out and he's like, cool, like that sounds cool, but you already know of some guys that you're not feeling it with. Do you really want to string those guys along? What happened to letting the girls choose what they want to do? But no, of course we have to have some eliminations the first night. You can't not have any. And it just, like, I feel so bad for Roby and the twins because it's just not a great look. I mean, of course it's the magician and, I don't know, the chatty twins. One of the twins was talking about how he was the main speaker for both of them, and he's like, yeah, I'm sort of the chill laid back one and he's the more bold one. And I was like, really? It doesn't seem like it. But anyway, I'm sure they're fine, great guys. I would have liked to get to know them a little bit more, but you know, the first night you're going to have people leave that you don't really know anything about. And in fact, there are guys well into episode 3, sometimes 4, that I'm still sort of like, who is this again? So that was just unfortunate, and really sucks to sort of be singled out like that. I mean, not saying that I want Gabby and Rachael to keep guys around when they know that there's not a connection at all. It's just, It's the magician and the twins. And the magician was cute too. So anyway, how do I want to handle this? Let's see. Okay, another quick thing, I suppose. I like the girl chats. At first I was just sort of like, okay, this is gonna sort of feel put on, isn't it? It's just gonna be these forced moments where we're gonna have the girls together and they're gonna be sort of like, I don't know, girl chatting about the guys and the connections that they're making, and wow, isn't that sort of gonna be a little awkward because they're talking to the same guys. And you know, the first one was just sort of, they're together at the house they're going to be staying at, and they're outside and they're chatting by the pool, and they're talking about like, okay, so who's your type? Like, what is, not who yet because they haven't met anyone, but like what generally is your type? Which Rachel kind of has a clear-cut vision. She's usually into the more athletic type, taller guys, and Gabby's just like, I've dated them all. So just to chat a little bit on the Bachelorettes themselves, I like them both, I really do, and for different reasons, because they are two different individuals. And you know, Rachel's just got this sweet something about her. It's very endearing, it's very heart on the sleeve type, which Gabby is too, but Gabby has a little bit of a guard around it, I feel, and I don't know if that comes with just age. I am not calling Gabby old, by the way, not at all. What is she, like 31? I'm older than her. But I do wonder if, not that I wonder, I feel, because I am, you know, in that thing, and not to make it sound like, oh, I've lived these many years so I have this sort of wisdom. No, definitely not. That's something that comes with dating and being out there and putting yourself out there, and you find out not only about other people but mainly about yourself. And so anyway, so she, even though she is very open and heart on the sleeve, there's still somewhat of a boundary over there, and I think it's just to protect herself, whereas with Rachel I don't see that so much. So let's protect her. But I think both of them are very eager to find someone to love, which duh, they're over here in this position, and that's sort of what they're looking for. And I found it really funny that that Gabby, or maybe I just like, I feel her on this, though I haven't like dated a lot of guys. I've still, all the guys I have dated have been very different from each other. So I just love that she was like, I've dated the short kings and the tall guys and the smart guys and the dumb guys. We love a range over here. But you know, it's a true testament to it's the person and who they are, and not the physicality of it. But you know, of course, we all have our certain physical attributes that we're generally attracted to. So I get it. But anyway, so it starts off with a conversation like that, and you're just thinking, oh, they're gonna do a lot of these, and it's gonna feel weird, and maybe it will later on, but I have to say, for episode 1, I really enjoyed it. Throughout the night, I think they had 3, whenever they got together and they were chatting, they felt like old friends, you know, just talking about like maybe they're at a party together and they don't know most of the people there, and you know, working the room and just chatting with everyone and talking and seeing what's going on, and then grouping back together periodically to sort of compare notes, or just be like, oh yeah, I chatted with that guy, and it like, it went really well, and other times it's being like, oh, maybe not that one. Not that we saw those types of conversations, but it had that vibe, which was really nice. So I'm not hating the girl chats, and I'd love to see how that goes moving forward, because as we saw in the preview, it kind of looks like Rachel is going to have a bit of a hard journey, and that it's possible that a lot, at least from what we're seeing, that there's quite a few guys that she's going to offer a rose to that decline her rose because they want one from Gabby. And that has to be so hard, and right in front of everyone. I mean, watching that preview really made me, like, my heart hurt for these girls, because in either position that would royally suck. Because even for Gabby to be in that situation, and you can already sort of see that she kind of has a fear about, I guess, Ben Higgins-esque, where she maybe doesn't feel like she can open her, well, different, because it kind of seems like Gabby isn't confident in opening herself up to love, which another thing I totally feel her on. I don't know, so far I like the girl chats. I think that was the main thing that I was talking about over there. I did notice that in this episode, Jesse for sure felt like a backdrop. And when Caitlyn and Tayshia were the hostesses for the couple of seasons that they did, I really liked that dynamic. I thought they did a fantastic job. They were really great. They were very empathetic. And really, I think, great for coming to when you felt like you were in certain situations. And with Jesse, I mean, he's a fine host. I do feel like it would make more sense to see him as a host for The Bachelor as opposed to The Bachelorette. So I did also see these girl chat moments as what maybe would have happened had Caitlyn and Tayshia been there, but they're not. So instead it's being recreated. And of course they're gonna do it anyway because we have 2 bachelorettes. Like, so there's that as it is. Anyway, I did feel that it was sort of taking the place of conversations that we maybe would have heard or seen with Tayshia and Caitlyn there. But again, in a different way, because it did have this very, like, they're old pals and they're sort of at this party where they don't know a lot of people and individually just sort of working the room. I loved it. I really did. Okay, so let's sort of get into the meat of the episode, which is, of course, it's night 1. We're meeting all the fellas. And I was so scared just seconds before this is starting of, oh my God, are they gonna do a situation like when Caitlyn and, I feel really bad, I'm not remembering the other lady's name. For some reason, they had a season where they couldn't choose who the Bachelorette was gonna be. Don't know why this was a thing, but it was Caitlyn, Bristow, and someone else. And they had both of them standing at the front, but they had, what, like 6 or 8 feet between them. We're not going there. And so then there was this weird thing where the guys would come out of the limo and sort of have to decide who they're gonna chat with first. And I don't know, it was a really awkward vibe, and I guess it was one of those things they didn't really think through, but since they went through that, they're like, we're not gonna do a repeat of that. Instead, they had Gabby and Rachel standing side by side together and greeting the guys together, which, how else are you gonna sort of do this situation? So there were some that worked and some that didn't for me. And I did find it funny that, yeah, they sort of had a string of guys showing how they would bring up Clayton in one way or another. And I also was sort of like, this can't feel great to constantly have to hear about your ex from these guys. You get the sentiment, because the guys are just sort of like, oh, we're gonna forget about that guy and I'm here now and we're gonna make things better. We're gonna have a nicer journey or whatever. I kind of agree with Rachel. The only guy where it was kind of funny was the one who had the sort of high school choir with him, and that one was sort of funny. But you know, there was a part of me that was also sort of like, kind of feel bad for Clayton right now because he's being dragged, you know, so hard, but also it wasn't great how he treated the ladies at all. So it's been so long since then, you know, and obviously for us as viewers, but not for them, because apparently it's only been 24 hours since all of that went down, or having to rehash everything with the viewing coming to an anyway, you get what I mean. So yeah, that was something. But you know, there was some fun, like, I don't know, how are you actually gonna handle a situation like that? I'm trying to think about ones that sort of really stuck out to me as like, oh, that was really nice, that was really weird. I had like a phantom vibration happen on my leg just now, where I kind of thought my phone was there and I got a text, but I'm holding my phone, so that was weird. Let's see. Well, I will say, yeah, I was already thinking about this and I just came to it in my notes. I didn't like the headphones guy. I get what he was going for. I think it's gonna be a running theme. I get what they were going for, but the execution was interesting, because the second he sort of put the headphones on, he put on Gabby first, right? Yeah, I think he put on Gabby first. But anyway, that doesn't matter. Regardless, the second he put it on one of the ladies so that he could talk to the other one, it just immediately felt weird to me. Like, shh. Which that brings me to the other guy with the whiteboard or whatever, teaching Gabby how to speak in a Boston lingo. Again, get what he was going with over there, but the whole thing is just sort of like, kind of circling back to the whole, we're not going to tell these ladies what to do. Like, can we not? I mean, that's just, anyway, it did turn around. What was that guy's name with the whiteboard? Actually, kind of for both of them, but with different people, right? Because the headphones guy ended up sort of having a nice conversation, I think, with Rachel, and the guy with the whiteboard was having a nice conversation with Gabby. Like, she just sort of rolled with it and was like, you know, we kind of like shoot the shit with each other, or like take it out of each other or whatever. So she saw it that way, which, like, I get it. I can see what was happening. He obviously had a train of thought going on, and with her commentary, he wasn't able to just sort of get it out and continue on. And so he was like, I'm gonna lose this, I guess. I just didn't love the anyway. And yeah, the headphones just sort of gave me that vibe. So it was weird. The guy with the two chicks, that was funny. I chuckled anyway, but not sure how I feel about him, and I'll maybe get to that later if I remember. Let me just quickly go through my notes about the limo entrances. Oh, I liked I liked the juggler. Clearly I'm not good at juggling two women, but I promise I could be quite the catch. I clearly like the simple jokes. I'm like Gabby, I'm 12. Like so that was funny. Oh, the guy with the chicks, Logan, he also thanked the gentleman who opened the door for him, which that was a nice touch. You know, I noticed that. I wrote Quincy and Gabby question mark. Oh, because I think we see a sort of one-on-one, what are those called again? ITM, right? In the moment. I think we saw it in the moment of Gabby sort of talking about Quincy. And so maybe it was someone that piqued her interest. So question mark on him. He says that he hasn't had sex in the past year and a half. Is it just because he hasn't like gone out there or come across dates or whatever that led to that? Or is it sort of like a I'm a born again virgin sort of situation? Because those are two completely different things to sort of wrap your head around, you know? Let's see. There's a guy that got their names wrong, which I kind of wondered. For a split second, I wondered if that was on purpose, which would have just been a dick move and not attractive. But no, I think legit he got their names wrong, so we'll chalk it up to nerves. Rachel is smitten with Tino already, straight out of his forklift, which he's just saying they look forking gorgeous, which I also loved because it also sort of ties back to The Good Place, and I love that show. So that gave me giggles. I was actually rewatching The Good Place not too, like, recently, within the past week. I think I put it on while I have lunch. Anyway, the guy who did a mic drop, did he seriously just say, yeah, that's right, I did that, and then walk away? Like, was that really it? I hope not, because that was weird. Let's see. Gabby's into Spencer with the chairs. He's a sweetie. Oh, with the chairs. He is a sweetie. I remember that now. Yeah, he's like, yeah, my mom and sister, like, they're always complaining about their feet hurting while wearing heels or something like that. So he does know about that. So he wanted to give them a little bit of a breather, and he brought them chairs. Like, that's just very thoughtful and adorable. That can't be Tick. Oh, Ty. My ink was running out. The Ty guy. What a moment. Yes. Okay, so the Ty guy. What was his name? I think I wrote about him later. Oh, yeah. So I liked it in the I liked him in the beginning. Questionable about him now, but we'll see. And I guess I'll just go ahead and talk about that right now. Okay, so his sort of walk up was asking if they could help him with his tie. And, you know, Gabby steps up to the plate, and even though she doesn't know how to tie a tie, she does something. And he tries to sort of tie Rachel in. Tie. Anyway, what is wrong with you? Anyway, so he tries to involve Rachel as well towards the end, and he's just like, yeah, you know, like, help me with this. I was thinking, wow, what a first impression. Because, okay, this would only work with a guy that you kind of have that sort of chemistry with, because, you know, Gabby talks about this, where it's really important to sort of have chemistry in a relationship, and I agree. I think the three most important things would be open communication, mutual respect, and chemistry. And so, you know, that's something that you feel even in first conversations. That's why they call it love at first sight or whatever. I think technically they're talking about the first hour that you're with each other and you're chatting and the whole like pheromones and whatnot and all of that. I don't know to that extent, but I do agree on, you sort of feel a vibe with someone, and you can kind of generally tell if you're into someone or if you're not. So it would only work if you were kind of into the person. But imagine, like, it felt awkward here because we have two bachelorettes, but if it had just been Gabby and, you know, he does this thing and she's helping him put on his tie, that's a really romantic moment. Even if you don't know, like, I don't know how to tie a tie, but I still think that, and I think that's another reason why Rachel was sort of holding back a little bit over there, maybe, because it kind of felt like an intimate moment happening between Gabby and, his name is Eric, right? I am getting that right, aren't I? I don't know. If I'm getting it wrong, I'll write it down. But yeah, I kind of wish that there was a guy that did this in a previous Bachelorette season, because I would have liked to see that, especially if he ended up being the end guy. It's kind of reminiscent of Desiree and, his name's Chris, right? I'm pretty sure, where he like walks up to her and then bends down, and it appears as if he's going to propose, but he's like, sorry, I just gotta tie my shoe over here. Which is really like cute and adorable, and then it just so happens that they end up being the final couple sort of thing. So yeah, I really liked that entrance. It kind of caught me off guard, and I don't know why I'm so into it, but I'm really into it. But Eric as just himself throughout the episode was interesting, because so I like the first impression out the limo, and then we see him super cozy up with Gabby on the couch, to the point where I was like, whoa, they're like really cuddling. I mean, there is just, but it was really cute. Like, they just instantly look comfortable with each other, which was nice to see. And they're also sort of giggling and flirting, and oh my god, love Gabby in this moment, because he says like, I have to give you a compliment, you look absolutely gorgeous, and she's like, thanks, you know, fake hair, fake tan, and just completely laying it out. Oh my god, she is amazing. Anyway, so, you know, and they're really, I think, hitting it off super well. I kind of was surprised, I suppose. So he goes, we see anyway, the way they edit the show together, he goes to chat with Rachel afterwards, seemingly like shortly afterwards. And at first, like, they're not cuddly and really into each other. There is a little bit of distance, and it does seem like he's just giving it that chance. And that's really what it is, or that's what I had sort of come to as I'm watching this. Well, he should in this situation. He really should give both of them the equal chance. What am I trying to say? Basically, you should chat with both and see how the feelings go. So, you know, he's like talking with her, and at first I'm thinking, okay, the vibe is just not the same over here. It kind of feels very sort of surface level. He's doing this whole thing with turning his hand into a map of Manhattan to like point out certain areas, and at first I was thinking, oh, it's sort of, I've been on a date like this where call myself out. I was really into the guy, and we had started this thing where we were trying to guess this song and that was playing at the restaurant every so often, and it turns out he was not feeling me at all. And when I thought about it after the fact, it's like, oh, that should have been my tip off. It's having sort of an innocuous, silly little conversation. One person probably feels like, oh, this is maybe really something, and the other person's just like, oh God, can't wait till I get out of this situation. Let me just like talk about something, whatever, anything. So they're literally talking about places in Manhattan, like, this is where I lived or whatever. So it kind of didn't feel like it was going anywhere, but then it seemed to take a turn towards the end, and he did sort of lean in a bit more, and we hear his voiceover talking about how he doesn't want to force a kiss over here. He wants it to be, and it doesn't sound like just in particularly with Rachel, just in general, he'd like a kiss to be organic and just sort of happen. Okay, yeah. I was feeling a little hot, so I did put my hair up, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. Oh well. This is very slapdash. And part of me is sort of like, do I really want to post something like this? Because it is super chill. But I will also have to say that I feel like I'm being a lot more open? Vocal? I don't know. Not so scared, but it also could just come with, so I started my YouTube channel with Clayton Echard's season of The Bachelor and sort of doing recaps, and all throughout the season I was sort of doing different styles and types, and towards the end of the season is when I sort of started doing this, where I would just sort of take notes as I was watching and then sort of glance through and go over certain things that stuck out to me and just edit that together. And it's more my vibe, just to just sort of turn on the camera and chat and talk and keep chatting and keep talking. But yeah, it could just be that I feel more comfortable doing it now that I've been recapping other shows or talking about, yeah, just other things. So I don't know if that's what it is, or if it's sort of the location and doing it more casual in a vlog style. I don't know, but I don't know if doing this for the very first episode of this season was a good call or not. I guess we'll find out. Anyway, so let me keep on going about Eric, because what ended up happening for me and how I sort of viewed him was things started to take a turn for me after that. It was basically when the first impression roses were brought out. Jesse brings them out. He does his like one duty for the night, except for, you know, trying to steer them into still having somewhat of a rose ceremony at the end of this episode. The manipulations. Anyway, not something to laugh about, but it's also, this is The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Like, this show is just based off of manipulations. Anyway, so those roses come out and you start to hear a lot of the guys talk about, or almost voicing out, hoping that, I don't know if it's really hoping, but sort of voicing out that, whoa, what if like both girls give you a rose? What are you supposed to do then? And like all this kind of stuff. So, you know, you can't just pinpoint on Eric, because there were a handful of guys talking about that. And so a lot of the times I really have to pause and put myself in the situation and think about how I would react or think or whatever. Because at first, I'll have to admit, it was a little bit of a turnoff, because you're hearing Eric sort of talk about how, you know, in a way that he's almost expecting to get the first impression rose from both of them. But granted, he had a really nice sort of moment with Gabby especially, and then Rachel sort of turned into that and sort of in the tail end of their conversation. And so I guess you can kind of see why his line of thought was going that way. But it also did seem like when Rachel came in, took the rose and walked out, it kind of felt like he was upset. borderline angry about that. And she was the connection, at least what we're seeing, you know, what was edited for us to view. It kind of seems like she was the lesser of the connections. And I think he even goes as far as to say something along those lines. Like, he talks about how, well, based on the conversation I had with Gabby, I think there's a real chance that I can get her rose or something like that. So anyway, you're hearing him talk like this, and it really seems like he's sort of borderline angry that he's not getting the first impression roses, and then he doesn't get it from Gabby either. Like, she gives it to Mario, which I was a little surprised by, because I kind of thought that she was going to give it to Eric based on like the conversation they had or the vibe that they had going on. But also, Mario was her first kiss. Did they both kiss two guys, or was it only Gabby that kissed? Because she kissed Mario and Eric, right? And Rachael kissed Tino, and I think that was it. But yeah, I mean, both of them sort of went with their first kiss guys, which I think would be hard to beat, you know, from a female perspective. It's sort of the first person you make a connection with, so I would assume that they're always sort of in the back of your mind. It's really hard maybe not to then compare conversations that you're having to the one that you had before, because that made such an impression. I mean, that's why they call it a first impression rose. And I mean, for Rachael, Tino made an impression from her from his entrance. So like the limo entrances, granted his wasn't a limo, but still. You know, and there were a few other guys that Rachael seemed to be sort of intrigued by or interested in, because she also was sort of hoping for maybe a kiss to happen, and it wasn't going that sort of way, even though she felt like it was the moment. Maybe they didn't feel it. Also about the Eric thing. You know, I thought about this too. I definitely had my period of time. You kind of sometimes have these, wow, really gonna call myself out. You kind of sometimes have these moments where you feel like, I'm a fucking catch. Like, I'm chill and amiable and I think funny in my own way, maybe. Wow, this is really awkward to say about myself, because it yo-yos for me. I'll have these days where I feel super confident in myself, but the majority of the days I don't at all. But on those days that you sort of are feeling yourself, you kind of have these, or especially it was sort of in the beginning times of me online dating, and you're going through one bad date after another. And so I sit and I chat with my friends, and it's just sort of like, it really shouldn't be this hard, you know? And you also have this feeling that, I don't know, it really comes down to, you think that you are a real catch and that anyone would fall for you. So you kind of expect both of them to. More, maybe not expect might not be the right word. It's more of a, I don't know, you just sort of think that that would happen. And when it doesn't, it's a real sort of hit to your ego. But of course it's not going to happen. You're not everyone's cup of tea. Most definitely not first impression-esque. I don't know. I don't know if like what I'm saying over here or with that, I don't know. I'm definitely not going to be including all of this. Now I'm just talking out loud. So let's move on. Jordan and Rach. Oh, he says that he came for Rach. The drag racer. Oh, okay, there were a couple of them that sort of were throwing out the I came for you. I think Avon was the first to do it with Rachael. But in Avon's case, I couldn't tell if that's how he meant it or if it was like a he came in general for this experience. I don't know. I just couldn't really tell over there. Avon's another one that I found sort of interesting because initially you're seeing his one-on-one with Rachel and he's talking about, you know, kind of calling himself out and saying that you mentioned the vulnerable, oh, I hate this word, and this show loves to use it. Oh my god, why is this so hard? When you're just reading, you can do it very quickly, but when you're trying to think about it and say it, it's difficult. Vulnerability. That was very important for them, and it's kind of what you need to have if you're going through a process like this, is to really put yourself out there, lay it all out, be open, and be vulnerable. So he calls himself out in telling her that, okay, that's something I struggle with. It's kind of difficult, but I want you to know I will definitely give it my best shot, and I will try to get there sooner rather than later. So I like that. I'm all about just being completely upfront and honest. I think that that is the best way to go. Sometimes it can kind of hit you not so great if you're just a little too honest, I think. I have my moments of that too, but I generally feel that it's better to have it all out there. This is why I'm a very detail-oriented person. It's just, I'd rather you know everything and anything that I have or I know or whatever, so we're all on the same page. So I did like that, but I found it interesting that the show showed us a clip of, it was after the First Impression Roses came out, and he made this comment about how, what did he say? He was talking about, you know, it's bound to happen that they're going to like the same guy, and what happens then? Like, they might even fight over this guy. And he almost made it sound like he hopes to see that, and he hopes that he's that guy. I don't know, that's just the vibe I got from that comment, clip, moment, and I found it interesting that the show chose to show that. So Avon's another one that I guess I will be keeping an eye on. Like, is he a player? Is he not? Oh yeah, that chick guy, what was his name? Logan with the chicks. Him too. At first I was thinking, oh, this guy is just, you know, like a nice guy or whatever, like he's gonna try his best and try to be funny and whatnot. And sorry, that sounds terrible, that's not how I mean it. Just like, this is still gonna sound bad, he's just a guy, like, you know. But then you're seeing him in his one-on-one conversations with Gabby and Rachel, and suddenly it's, you almost see this whole different side, and he's actually kind of a charmer. And now you kind of, I anyway, start to wonder, is he, you know, low-key, very actually sneakily a player? Could he? It's possible. I mean, anything's possible, but so Logan's another one where I'll be keeping an eye on him. Rachel and Tino's one-on-one time was really sweet. There were a little bit of nerves over there, I think, from both of them, but I actually found that really endearing. He had this idea of, oh, you know, I want to turn your experience with stairs around and make it a good one and stuff. But then I think they both kind of were like excited and nervous because you kind of know where it might be leading to, like a kiss. So conversation became, I don't even remember what they were talking about, but it was just like, I think they were talking about his entrance again and how she really liked that. And so he's talking about how he's a carpenter and whatnot. And anyway, it was cute. I kind of really like them together, so I'm intrigued to watch their romance blossom. They are such pals and it's really nice. Jesse is a backdrop, lol. Oh, both girls gave it to their first kisses. Oh, talking about the impression roses. Yeah, that chat especially was where I was thinking, yeah, Jesse's just literally gonna be just the host that is there and not really so involved, because they have each other to chat with and sort of go over where they're at and what they're thinking and who they're into and whatnot. It makes sense. It really does. Okay. I honestly think I covered most of it. The episode kind of went quickly, I feel. Okay. Oh yeah, so I kind of already talked about this because it was the end of the episode, but sort of that third girl chat, which was right before the rose ceremony, and how both of them sort of sounded like, well, we didn't really talk to everybody. Maybe, you know, we should change it up. And it just sort of sounded like they didn't want to do a rose ceremony. And, you know, Jesse coming out and just being like, I hear you on that. But I'm sure there's already some guys here that you already know you're not into. Yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, one quick note. I noticed that Eric didn't look too happy when they announced that they're not going to do the rose ceremony. He really wanted to get a rose. I don't know. It might have just been a clip that they decided to throw in and actually wasn't at that moment. But I think it was. And it was just interesting because the majority of the guys are like, oh, hell yes, that's amazing. I love this idea. Like, let's just not do a rose ceremony and I'll stay here one more week so we can actually chat. But yeah, he seemed sort of not too happy about that. So that's interesting. But other than that, I mean, that was the first night for the Bachelorettes. I mean, I love the girls. I'm here to see their journey. It looks like it's going to be a really rough one. I hope that they're happy. You know, I think that's the main thing, the only thing really, is that I hope that it turns out good for both of them, however that journey ends up looking. But I'm here to see it and keep an eye on a few of the guys and see what's up and what's happening over there. But for today, that's about it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week, I guess. I don't know if it'll still be in this vlog style, probably not. Again, I don't know if I'm just gonna completely redo all of this. I'm not sure, but yeah. Okay, real quick, because my mom was coming down the stairs and that was really awkward, which is why my voice just started to get really quiet. So I guess I'll do my outro thing up here, but just to say thanks for watching and toodles.